Welcome to PsychicBent. My name is Carrie.
And I'm Kim. We are two sisters wanting to help other psychics learn and grow in their abilities and to help educate about spirits, angels, and everything psychic.
Well, welcome back, PsychicBent listeners. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. And now we can jump in with our numerology behind us and what we've wanted to manifest for this year, and let's just make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I know, right? So we thought, we talked about it at the last episode, that we are going to talk about an email we received from a listener and kind of go over a little bit of her experiences, and hopefully we can help along with what she's experiencing, and hopefully what she has talks about in the letter resonates with some of our listeners.
Yes, it was a very interesting email. So we just want to thank Belle from Argentina giving us permission to actually do her story. We hope you all find it as interesting as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read her email, and actually it was an exchange of emails that we had, and we'll be commenting on parts of it as well, and then we'll continue on with the psychic symbols that we promised you.
Yeah.
So.
And we're not going to read the entire email because, some matters are private.
Yes.
Yeah, so keep in mind if we are going to skip around in her emails just because not everything should be shared.
That's true.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so she did start it off by saying hi, and she thanked us for actually replying to her email, and that caught her by surprise because she really didn't think that we would respond. I can understand that. I did that on a podcast as well, where I emailed somebody and didn't think I'd get a response back, but I did. So I know that feeling.
But that makes you feel good. You feel heard.
Yes, exactly.
And that's really what it's about, is being heard.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you agree with the podcast that you're listening to, or it just resonated with you and you just feel the need to share that, and you get a response, it just makes you feel like, okay, yeah, these people really do respond and listen, which is good.
Well, at least we try to.
Yes.
Yeah. So she had told us in her original email that she wanted to go ahead and get a story together for us and talk to us about it. And we had said, yes, please send us whatever you'd like us to cover. So she tried to be as detailed as she possibly could. And that she always knew that she had feelings deeper than other people. And for about a couple of months ago, at the point Bells wrote this, had a dream. And it felt like the whole dream was in black and white. But for some reason, Belle was standing there in like first person form, looking at the hands. Those hands were glowing in a burst of light. Bells realized that they could perform magic. After thinking that in the dream itself, she said out loud, and please excuse my my pronunciation here, she says, in her dream she said, I could do magic, but she said that in her native language, in Spanish, of puedo hacer magia. Ever since that day, she felt the urge to know and learn more about the meaning of that dream. And that's when she found our podcast. She says, I work as a quality engineer from home, so as I said previously, listening to your podcast captivated me and gave me a reason to go for a walk. I always felt like a difficult puzzle to solve, but listening to you girls made me feel like the puzzle inside me started to make sense. Many of the things you describe have been happening to me, and suddenly all the pieces started to fall into place. So she thanks us for helping her learn that she is an empath. She kind of has always felt that way all of her life, that her tuition was always right. She always felt that she was prejudging people because she'd always formed that opinion about someone, and that intuition that she was listening to always proved her right once she got to know them. So once she really got to know the people that she had got that initial judgment on, she found out that that's exactly what I thought they were.
What's funny is, how many times has you as a psychic got that bad hit, like, ooh, I don't know about you. And then you're like, well, I'm being judgmental. I'll give him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, why didn't I listen to my intuition? It was right there and I didn't do it. I mean, we've all had that moment because we're always taught to, growing up, you're taught to, be polite, and you shouldn't judge others. You don't know their heart, which is true, you don't. But when you get that psychic, yeah, keep a distance from that one, you got to kind of like, okay, is that a psychic hit or I just don't like to smell their perfume? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that what happened to her, that was very common, and she felt judgmental, but she was actually being told, you know, by her intuition or by spirit, don't go there, don't,
Or do go there,
or do,
because you
yeah,
could have
yeah,
definitely a very positive intuition hit on someone as well. You look at their outer appearance, and their outer appearance, they may not be carrying themselves as someone that you logically think, oh, maybe I should not be friends with that person for whatever reason. But then you listen to the intuition telling you that's someone you need to get to know. And you should listen to that because you don't know what that person has to offer you as well, as far as their friendship or whatever.
and even using her intuition for spirit to show her a podcast that could help her where she currently is in her development.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you and I go looking for something to listen to a podcast wise, and it's like I don't know about you, Kim, but sometimes my normal ones I'll go to, like, not feeling it today, not just feeling it, and all of a sudden, like, oh, what's this one? And it'll be like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this is hitting the mark today, and I think that's another way that intuition is working with you and guiding you and spirit guiding you to get those psychic hits and run with it.
Right.
Whether it's to turn the TV on, or you're gonna look at Facebook for a minute. You don't have time, but you're gonna do it because you feel like you should, and then you see a story that resonates with you, or you go and look at your podcast, and find something that resonates for what you need right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Happened many times.
Yes.
So then she goes on to say, when I was little, I had dreams that years later became true. For example, I dreamt I was going to have a fight with my best friend from childhood. A couple of years later, that dream came true. We argued and never spoke again, grew apart, and took different paths. I also dream about boys I later get to know. The dreams never show me the face, but they show circumstances. For example, with her current partner, I met him through a friend I knew from video games. Before knowing my partner, I dreamt that I was on a map of the video game we played a lot. There was a shadow. I didn't see anything else, just a human figure with very curly hair. My partner has really curly hair and the same stature and build as the figure in the dream. We had been dating for 8 years, and the dream happened about 3 months before I met him. With my ex boyfriend, well, he lives in the capital about 2 hours from my city. In my dream back then, I was waiting for the bus on the highway, which is exactly the route of the travel to get to the capital to see him. As of now, I have dreamed of a new person, but I don't know what that dream meant because the person lives in another country. But maybe that is for another episode. But this one, I feel that this might be one of those path choices,
It could be, yeah.
that she's going to be presented with a path that she may have to choose one or the other, or this way or that way. And with these types of experiences that she's having with her dreams, as I have had experiences like that as well, I'm fairly certain she experiences deja vu moments like a lot.
When you have those prophetic dreams, you don't, when it happens, you have this dream. It doesn't mean the very next day it's going to happen.
Yes, right.
Because sometimes certain things have to happen in your life before the next step can be.
Hmm.
I think it's wonderful that she has that ability because not everybody has that ability.
I agree. Yep. But the deja vu really gets you going. So,
Yeah, I hate deja vu.
yeah.
I'm not a fan of it.
Oh.
Because it's like, okay, why am I feeling deja vu? What did I
Yeah.
miss?
Yeah, that's when you really start racking your brain and trying to figure out, okay, what could this mean? What did I see? How did I
Mm,
experience it before? What was I feeling
yeah.
then? Just all kinds of different questions happen. So she learned, thanks to the podcast, about the third eye. And she's an overthinker. And about 4 years ago, she says, I was really struggling to sleep. One night, I was staring at the wall from my bed, and a figure started forming. It was physically there. I knew that, but I was seeing it. I got really scared, but kept looking to see where it was going. It started to form symbols. So symbols started forming next with that image on the wall. I don't remember the exact symbols, but I could see one line of them, then another, and so on. And then there were like four different images. I couldn't connect any meaning to them, but I got really scared because it didn't stop. The only way to stop seeing them was by closing my eyes. I tried doing it other nights after that episode when it first started, but again, when the symbols formed, they went to a point where it scared me because I didn't know why I was seeing that. However, since that day, every time I go to sleep, I close my eyes and she just closes her eyes immediately because that experience scared her more than what she thought it should have. And it didn't look normal. She says, I don't know if I can do that again now because I've avoided looking at a wall when going to sleep since then, which makes sense.
Yes, but she shouldn't, have to feel that she can't, look around her room before she goes to bed, that she has to close her eyes immediately.
Hmm.
And,
Right.
and I think a lot of times, and we've talked about this before, is sometimes, we don't know what to expect when we're working with our third eye. And
Hmm.
when we're, working on developing our psychic abilities. And it does scare us when something happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because half the time you're kind of like, oh, this isn't going to work. Oh my gosh, that just works. You know. I mean, I could not tell you my first psychic hit. I couldn't because I was young.
Hmm.
I mean, um, and some people are born wide open and don't realize they're psychic, and some people, for perhaps their lifestyle, how they were brought up, a strict environment stifles psychic ability,
Hmm. Right.
and that you shut it down unknowingly, or you develop it later in life. And I think when you shut it down and then and never acknowledge that you were psychic, and you don't even think back on past circumstances where you were clearly having psychic abilities and they were doing something, to developing now your abilities, it can be very scary. And it can be where you're going to remember that moment,
Hmm.
because everybody's abilities are different. How I see and get hits is not how Kim gets them.
Right.
So when you're ready to open, you have to have faith that spirit and your spirit team are going to protect you, and it's nothing to be frightened of.
Right.
Before you do any practice, before you work on anything, make sure you cleanse your space. Give a good smudge, do a grounding or protection, and then work on whatever gift you're trying to develop. Like in her situation, this would be she seems very clairvoyant,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Hmm.
and so when you follow these steps, I think that probably will give you a little more feeling of security and safety.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah, so you should do that regardless of any ritual or any development you want to work on. You should always smudge your space. You should always pray for protection or whatever it is that you do.
Hmm.
And I think that might help Bella, doing that. Smudge her space, do whatever protection that she believes in, or her path that she follows, and then look at the wall before going to bed.
Yeah.
And knowing that you are protected. And what you're seeing is meant for you to see
Hmm.
and try to duplicate the images so that later on you can meditate on it or look at them and try to figure out, okay, what does this image mean to me?
Right.
Because you could Google a picture. One of the images that she, did draw for us looked like a Reiki symbol, for Reiki. So I don't know if, I think she has been exposed to Reiki, maybe having a treatment or two, but that might be a sign for her, if it, when she looks at it, if she thinks Reiki, then what did Reiki mean for her? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when Julie sees the letter C, when she does a reading, that means cancer for her.
Yeah.
So that might mean a C for somebody else might not necessarily mean cancer. So, I think it'd be helpful if, she does the protective steps first
Right.
and then try to look at the wall.
Yep. Sounds good. So at this point in time, we had asked Belle for some clarification on this experience that she was having. And she messaged us or sent us another email describing the actual thing that she was seeing. And we thought it was really interesting to share. So, regarding her experience, she drew something for us to see what she was actually describing. She started to see a spiral form. And as it was finishing forming, the figures began to take shape. Now, these were symbols, and simultaneously, the first figure started moving in the direction of the arrows. So she had arrows drawn so we could see. So the spiral was moving, and then the second image, it looked like the Aquarius symbol, the wavy lines for the zodiac sign of Aquarius, but just one line of waves. But there were also dots and sort of figures like Nordic binding runes, which are also psychic symbols,
Yes.
only with more rounded shapes. Everything was moving, everything started moving. And as soon as one image formed, it would start moving in place like a flip book animation. So she actually did a Google to get that word flip book. If you've seen a little kids, you make a drawing on every single page of a little book, and when you flip it, it makes it look like the person's walking across the room, or it makes it looks like somebody's mixing up a bowl of flour as you flip it. It's like a little cartoon book. Hopefully I described that well. Simultaneously, the figure in the third portion of the image started forming, and today she remembers that as being a house, but at the actual time it was just stacked geometric shapes. At the same time, more lines and symbols started adding to the Aquarius portion. The Aquarius lines started forming, more of them. Amidst all this, she was very confused because everything was grabbing her attention by moving. They weren't static figures, they weren't just standing still or laying still or anything like that. They were sort of flickering as well. So when the image in quadrant 4 finally started to form, or the fourth portion of the wall, it was two people cartoon style forming. And they were two males, one adult and one older than the other, and they were hugging in the image. By the time I was visualizing all of that, I felt very overwhelmed because there were so many figures. I don't know which one to pay attention to. I didn't know what it meant, and I never fully understood what that whole episode meant. So, this was happening to her so fast that she was really becoming overwhelmed because, number one, she's looking at a blank wall that all of a sudden more or less started to come alive with different images and figures moving and flashing and blinking. I'm thinking that she was strictly, completely overwhelmed. Spirit gave it to her a little too fast, too much too fast at one time, is what I think happened. What do you think?
I think that the way her mind assimilates information because of the, how she enjoys the gaming. I think that the symbols were taking on trying to be kind of in that mode. Because remember when she had the dream about the partner that she's with now,
Mm-hmm.
they were an outline of a person,
Right.
which these two men are the same thing.
Yes.
And the circle, the spiral circle, which is spinning, which direction is it spinning? Is it going to the right?
Right.
Well, she talked about magic,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be a symbol of magic.
Interesting.
The Aquarius, I don't know because that's something she's got. I mean, but that's when you were breaking it down because we've read the email a couple times prior to the podcast. That the spiral is one that's similar to a Reiki symbol,
Mm-hmm.
which is energy work, and then you've got it spinning. Everything has magic to it. Like recipes,
Right.
following a recipe, but stirring to the right is normally like if someone's mixing something that practices the crafts. That's one way they do it is stirring to the right. She talked of magic prior, so that's what came into my mind was, you've got energy work and then you have magic,
Right.
which from her prophetic dream has already acknowledged that she has magic.
Yeah.
And she sees people before they enter her life. Now, of course, she really needs to, break down these symbols because the interpretation of any symbol depends on, your personal psychic beliefs, your experiences, and the context that you receive the information. Like what was she thinking prior to these symbols coming? But because she already has a history of prophetic dreaming, this could be that happening now in the awake state because she's working on her third eye
Right.
and her psychic abilities.
Yeah.
But she's already taught. So the spiral to me, is, and you could correct me if you get something different, is saying me magic.
I would buy that.
Yeah, and the men, she's relaying them in a context to a video game.
Mm-hmm.
That is maybe how Spirit's going to show her things because that's something she enjoys so much is gaming.
It could be. Yeah.
And especially since it's a game that she doesn't particularly care for. So this could say that this situation she may not particularly care for
Right.
with a situation with two men.
Yeah. Makes sense. But it all has to be how Belle feels
how
about
she how
these
Belle how
sorts.
Belle
Yeah.
interprets it,
Right.
but that's what I was getting, just, and that's because that's why I said she needed to figure out what these things meant to her. But I mean, I could easily see that with the spiral ties into what she's prefaced in a previous email on her dream.
Right. And I was thinking that, instead of trying to see this right before sleep, that maybe she could take time to possibly meditate beforehand and ask Spirit to show them to her one at a time to slow the process down for
Yes,
her so that she has time to focus on each individual image as it comes. And then once she gets in practice with it and more familiar with these symbols for her and what they mean, then they can speed them back up again if that is something that she's comfortable with.
yeah, and it is not uncommon for someone who has shut their abilities down or never recognized those abilities, and then now they're trying to open it up. It's not uncommon for it to be like someone just opened the dam and all this stuff just starts flooding in
Mm-hmm.
because you've repressed this stuff.
Yeah, right.
And so it's not uncommon for some people to get overwhelmed when developing their psychic abilities because A, it's not like the movies,
Yeah.
you know, and B, what's going to happen for you is going to depend on your path that you're on, your personal belief system,
Mm-hmm.
how you perceive it, whether you're clairvoyant or whether you're clairsentient. You have to be open and acknowledge how you receive the information. And then, you can say, hey, slow it down, but don't, if it overwhelms you, don't think you're weird or that you're not on the right path. That can happen very easily. I've seen a lot of people on podcast heard people on podcasts talk about that.
Yeah, right.
Even though it's not a situation that, like, I mean, I begin driving down the road and start seeing, what look like snapshots. I'm like, okay, this is random. But,
Yeah.
I'm just driving down the road, not talking to anybody, and it can't, and you have to figure out what that, what was I thinking at the time I saw that.
Yeah. That's really a good point, Carrie. Now, the next part of her email goes on to say there's a topic that she has tried to research, but she could never find anything about it. So she says, I have always been the rebellious daughter. My mother always says that I have a guardian angel. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, when I was 17 or 18, I went out on a Saturday night. On 2 of 3 occasions, I didn't have money to get back home, so I walked. At that time, I lived far from the city center where the bars were. Being a teenage girl walking alone for 40 kilometers is crazy. I don't know what I was thinking back then, but I never had a bad experience, even though I was being reckless when I was younger. I want to add that despite my carelessness, I was never harmed. It feels like my life was never truly in danger, which is saying a lot considering the risks of being a young girl and woman in this world. That's so true. She says, however, one day about 7 years ago, when I was living with my mother, something happened. I was always in my room, and my bedroom door was directly across from my mother's room. One day she was sitting on her bed taking off her shoes, and she caught a glimpse of a figure coming out of my room, closing the door slowly and walking down the hallway toward the kitchen. She thought I was acting weird, so she followed me to the kitchen. Then she came into my room looking pale and staring at me in surprise. I asked, "What?" And she said, "Did you go to the kitchen?" I replied, "No, I'm watching a show." I was on my computer watching a series. She turned even paler. I asked why, and she fully entered my room and told me what happened. She said she saw something leaving my room, and it caught her attention because it was moving slowly, as if it didn't want to alert me. It went to the kitchen, so she followed to ask why I was doing that, but she saw no one there. That was why she came to ask me. I was surprised and said, "What? Really?" We got a little scared, but I laughed at the situation and at the look on my mother's face. She was really scared. She had a friend who practices Reiki who asked a lot of questions about me and then smiled and said that was a protector spirit that is taking care of her. I never thought about that, but after that appearance, things started working out in my life. In previous years, I had felt stuck. I have tried to find information about this, but haven't found anything useful. So maybe you know what this could be. So when I read the story about her mother's experience, guardian angel, yeah, that kind of came to mind. I guess the mother wasn't used to, has not been open to seeing experiences like this, I guess, but I could see where that could have been her guardian angel, especially if it was after a time when she had walked home from the city, you know. What do you think?
Well, we could have guardian angels or we could have ancestors
Mm-hmm.
that protect us,
Yeah,
but sometimes we could also have spirits that follow us home because they know you could see them.
right.
So it kind of has to be the feel of what she felt. And it sounds like she felt it was a guardian angel.
After mom told her the story, yes, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she didn't know, she didn't feel the person, entity, whatever, however you want to
Mhm.
describe it. She didn't describe feeling it, that it was there. It was her mother that came and described it to her.
Yeah.
So,
And I wanted to touch on the spiral in a psychic symbol does mean journey, evolution, and continuous flow of energy.
ah,
So,
yeah, interesting.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I also thought maybe a doppelganger, but then again, I was like, no, there wasn't really a description of it actually looking like her. Because we didn't really get a description. Did mom really think it looked like her or just saw,
Assumed, assumed when you
assumed
saw
it?
something
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting because, you know, even when it is a guardian angel with you, you don't necessarily know they're there. You don't necessarily feel that they're there because whenever I had my car accident and we had that third person in our car, you know, the guardian angel in our car that kept us safe, we didn't feel
But,
that there was anybody
yeah.
with us at that time.
Yeah. And you didn't see
But
him.
other people did
Yeah.
see that third person in our car. This one I kind of got little chills with whenever I read that portion. So, because I guess I related to that part of it. But I guess it could also be, you know, like you said, the ancestors or whatever, keeping an eye on her. The last little portion I just wanted to mention before we get into more of the psychic symbols is I certainly hope her kittens are doing well that she got the new kittens,
Yes.
and hopefully she's figured out a name for the extra one that she got to take home with her. So, all right, so that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover as far as her email. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the email?
I'd just like to thank Belle for allowing us to share her email and for reaching out to us. And hopefully, this episode is helpful for her.
Yeah, I agree. So, with this email and her story about the images on the wall, that brought up the next subject matter that we have at hand with the psychic symbols. So, I'm going to flip this one on over to you, Carrie, to start us off on that part.
Okay. Well, as psychic signs and symbols, they are images, patterns, or phenomena that, people with psychic abilities perceive during their readings or experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And these signs and symbols can come in various forms like visions, dreams, physical sensations, and can carry specific meanings or messages from spirit. So, the thing is, you may not see signs and symbols like Bell, but you might have a different way of getting your visions. So it kind of goes with what clairs have you developed on how you're going to get your symbols. Your symbols can change as you evolve.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said earlier, how what symbols you get does have a bearing on your personal beliefs, how you receive them. But it's like an example of seeing. Let's just say you saw a rose, as a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that could symbolize love or a new relationship. Or if it's a wilting rose, it might indicate a fading relationship or lost love. So you have to recognize not only the psychic sign and symbols pave the way for a little deeper understanding of what you're saying.
Right.
So yeah, so it comes to it where yes, she starts to see the symbol, but now what is the symbol doing? So when you get a symbol, you want to pay attention to that. What color is it? Because color is very important. So you do have to, and it's usually best to write it down when you do get symbols, because you'll notice a pattern forming in what symbols you get, and then know what they mean.
Yes.
You've had that happen, haven't you, Kim? Where
Yes.
you notice there's this pattern now,
Right. Right.
and that this symbol, and then this happens. So it kind of helps if you were to write the symbols down just to help you interpret them. Now that you've got a baseline of what a lot of symbols mean, like a butterfly. That's a very common psychic symbol. It's a beautiful emblem of transformation, positive change, spiritual growth. So if you encounter a butterfly while getting a psychic hit, or when you're meditating, then that can mean it's that you have a very significant transformation waiting for you.
Right.
Water is huge. I have water a lot in my dreams, and you may not always get your psychic symbols in dreams, but I think that we get more in our dreams than we allow to believe, because that's when we're most receptive.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But water is a symbol heavily associated with emotion, intuition, and the unconscious. So, like if you saw an ocean, that may express some deep seated emotions or hidden issues. Or if you see a tranquil lake, that could represent serenity and emotional balance. But if it's a, dirty water or different things like that, that's where you kind of have to may need to delve into what those meanings mean to help you. So it's not just water.
Right.
It's what is the water doing, you know?
Yeah, you also want to pay attention to what you're feeling at the time when you see the symbol as well. Because with mine and water, let's just put it that way, with water and myself in dreams, a lot of times my water is deep and my vehicle is going off into that water, or it's rushing flood water. So I'm either feeling terrified or anxiety. I have intense feelings that come with it whenever I'm seeing the water dreams. So I pay attention to those feelings to analyze what it is I'm trying to get from this image or what's going on at
Mm-hmm.
that time. So pay attention to your feelings as well, not just
Yes, absolutely.
what does that mean to you, because it
Yeah.
could change how you perceive that image then. The message could be different. Let's put it that way, like you were saying.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all in the feel, and if you saw the sun, obviously that's life force,
Mm-hmm.
power, positivity. The moon is intuition and feminine energy, and of course, it's the nature of life, a cycle. It's a cycle of life
Right.
because you go through the different moon cycles. A feather is connection to the spiritual realm. That's why when you find a feather, you should, pay attention to it and what kind of feather it is. Also, freedom and guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Heart is love, compassion, and emotional well-being. Tree of life is connection to all life, growth, and balance. A star is hope, guidance, and the pursuit of one's dreams. The mandala is unity, harmony, and interconnectedness of all things. I have never seen the Eye of Horus as a symbol to me, but that is protection, intuition, and insight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen it, but not.
Yeah.
A spiral we just talked about. Dragonfly, of course, is transformation, adaptability, and the power of self-realization. The infinity symbol is endless possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one to see. Sunflowers, of course, positivity, strength, and the ability to turn towards the light. Elephant would be wisdom, strength, and overcoming obstacles. Now, you're not going to, these are just common ones. You're going to have different ones too.
Right.
The Om symbol is harmony, balance, and the essence of ultimate reality. The anchor is stability, grounding, and staying true to oneself. The rainbow is harmony, hope, and the promise of a better future. The Hansa hands is a protection from negativity, happiness, and good fortune. The dolphin is playfulness, harmony, and joy in living in the moment. The Celtic knot is eternal love, unity, and the interconnectedness of life. The phoenix is the resurrection, renewal, and the ability to rise from challenges. The scarab beetle is protection, transformation, and cycle of life. The arrow is focus, direction, and moving towards a positive goal. And of course, yin yang is balance, harmony, and interconnectedness of opposites. But you're going to have your own psychic symbols that are going to resonate with you. Now, there is a book, it's called The Book of Psychic Symbols
Mm-hmm.
by Melanie Barnum. And I own this book but cannot find this book. So I've loaned this book out. So if you have it, please return it. But that one goes over, that book has definitions for over 500 symbols
Yeah.
and then has some exercises that you could do to help you perceive what symbols might mean to you.
Hmm.
I bought it off Amazon. I'm not plugging Amazon. I'm just saying it's a book that I found very interesting. It would really have had to would love to have had it for this episode, but
I don't have it.
I've looked for it before. I didn't ask, but I loan things out, and you know how
Yeah.
that goes. So, Kim, what do you think about psychic symbols?
I did look for the book here. So
Okay, thank
I,
you.
I didn't have it.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I think psychic symbols, we all perceive things differently. And there's so many messages that you can get from spirit that is given to you via these symbols. And it's up to each individual person to actually create their own book, their own symbols and what they mean. But I really find it interesting with what symbols mean to other people, because whereas my mind is that business analytical type mind, and that's how my dreams, that's how these symbols come to me, is in that mindset in my dream. Unless we're talking about animals, because I get animals in my dreams a lot, including deer, and I think that's one of my spirit animals there. But they bring me different other messages that's outside of the box, whereas all of the other symbols that I get are inside the box. What you're seeing is pretty much what that symbol means. Someone's in trouble, or you've lost something, or whatever the case may be. You just have to figure out what exactly that is. But I just find that part fascinating. What it means to me is not what it means to you. And you get symbols of different things
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and different messages, different types of messages you get. You get more messages for other people to give to other people. Does that make sense? Whereas I think I get
Hmm.
more messages for, well, they probably would help other people, but more or less telling me what's going on, or why am I feeling this way? Why am I picking up on this? And then I'll get a message about that. You know what I mean?
Right, yes.
I think mine are more to help me grow, to develop more than it is to give me messages to help other people. Right at this point in time in my life.
And there's different stages of that
Hmm.
growth too, and you're not comfortable yet to do the messages for other people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is understandable.
Because when I have a dream about a car and this car is going out of control, I can't press the brakes, I can't stop it, I can't turn it. It's developed, every malfunction in the world has happened to this vehicle, and it ends up veering off the road, flying into the air and crashing into water, and I'm sinking to the bottom. That is images that I've got something that I've been dealing with that I need to get control of because I've lost control of something. Whether it's not allotting enough time for me to edit the podcast and it's got to get done at a certain time, or something else emotionally or whatever. Especially whenever I was in the workforce out there were a lot of times I felt things were spiraling out of control. Well, that's the symbol I get whenever there's something spiraling out of control. It's pretty chaotic, but
Yes.
that's how my mind works.
And
So
it could just mean you need more grounding and meditating time too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if it all depends on what do I do by the time I get to the bottom of the water.
Hmm.
Am I just taking my time, getting my breath, opening the door and getting out, or am I panicked? Am I, oh my gosh, I can't get out kind of thing, It's just, I wake up and take from it what I think I need from that dream and realize that yes, this is happening, yes, this I need, or maybe I need to help this person with that, because like within my household there are times whenever these dreams have affected me as well. So close family in the household, I think that's why I get those dreams as well. It's really fascinating. I don't get terrified of my dreams. Well, there are some that I do. But when there's dreams like this, I don't get terrified anymore because I know their message is coming.
Right. And you know that you could stop it if you want to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find these images, because sometimes these images don't come at night in dreams. They're just like you said, while you're driving down the road, they'll flash into your mind. Well, while I'm
Hmm.
outside gardening or whatever, something will pop into the head. It's like, okay, where'd that come from? You know,
Yeah.
that you just have to focus on and try to figure it out. So it's really interesting. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a message from somebody that's passed that just wants to say hi or give you a positive, you're doing great kind of message too.
Hmm.
So it's really interesting.
I think that, once you start to put a name to it, that it's a psychic symbol, you're going to get a lot more of them. Just like when you start saying, yeah, I got a psychic hit, you get more.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like if you see a ghost and you acknowledge that you see the ghost, you'll get more interaction with that ghost, whether you like it or not, because you acknowledge their existence.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, and it's the same, with your developing your abilities. The more that you put into it, the more you're going to get out.
Yeah.
As you strengthen one of your psychic muscles, you're going to get something different. Just don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's times, like I said, that I get hits that I don't say anything. I'll just say like, oh, they got somebody with them, but that'll be, or then there's times where I feel like I'm really compelled to have to say something because the entity's being very pushy.
Yeah. I haven't gotten pushed yet. At least not that way.
You're lucky.
I know. I've been pushed a different way, but
Yes.
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Kim, do you have anything else to add to this episode?
Well, I was just going to say, besides writing down in your journal, don't be afraid of meditating. Meditate and ask for symbols, especially if you're wanting to start building that journal. You can ask spirit and your family members, guardian angels, whatever, to help work with you with that. And they can start providing you with, working with you to help you with developing your symbol guide or your symbol journal or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Well, journaling had to come up.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
All right. Well, I hope, PsychicBent listeners, that you enjoyed this podcast. And, we keep saying, send us letters, comments, questions, stories, and we will answer you. And Bella, thank you. Hopefully this episode does resonate with you as well.
Yeah, I agree. It was fun doing this one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bells.
All right. All right. Thank you, PsychicBent listeners. Bye.
Bye. May your light shine bright. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Psychic Bent. If you enjoyed Psychic Bent, please like, follow, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to Psychic Bent. We can be reached on Facebook at Psychic Bent Podcast. Our email address is psychicbent1@gmail.com. May your light shine bright.